Good evening, everybody. As you can see, we've got someone special in the building. Well, she's all the way in London. She goes by the name of Spence. She's from Reggae Gospel 360. And she's joined us on Live from the Booth. And she's actually going to interview me. She may not know that. Just making some adjustments as you listen to one of my tracks. It's the elevation rhythm.
Sounds sweet.
We got a lot to talk about. Main subject being, how has the gospel reggae industry changed over these years? So feel free to join in, make your comments and participate. We're going to be here for a little bit. All right. So, welcome, Sister Van Spence.
Hey, good evening, Dwight. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So what you want to do is just mute your audio, right? So that we don't have any little feedback.
Okay, cool.
Mute the audio on your phone.
Sorry, apologies.
No problem. I didn't mean to, put you in school or nothing like that. But so thank you for reaching out. I've been watching your progress over these past couple years, with Reggae Gospel 360. And it's a pleasure for me to be talking to you here live on our platform. And for those that are watching, something tells me, there are like 10,000 people logged on already. So because Van Spence is in the building, the celebrity is here.
You mean God the celebrity, mate? I'm not going to take that prop.
Oh, man. Yeah. So you good?
I'm good, sir. And you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I am just as we're talking, I'm just making sure that we are actually being seen on the page. So that's critical, because otherwise it'd be quite pointless.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna get started anyway. And I have actually, before we start, I have a question for you, right?
Okay, cool.
We had some discussion while we were, kind of getting set up. Tell me, first of all, a bit about what you do with Reggae Gospel 360.
Okay. So, as the people know, it's called Reggae Gospel 360, and we are a gospel reggae platform. We support and we share gospel reggae music. Foundation is we love God and we love reggae music. Two key things of the platform.
So, is it you got people that are contributors, or?
Well, we have unofficial, yes, we have helpers in terms of, people share their ideas, and but obviously it's as it comes, because it's still a new platform.
Right.
So as you know, with any new vision, you are working out logistics, how to, what you need, because and anybody help that you do get is voluntary, as you would know with your own visions and things that you look after. Some of it is in the beginning stages of it, it's pretty much you and God, isn't it?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Pretty
you
much.
and God. But it's all good, because God brings people along the way,
Yeah. He does. Yeah, he brings the right people. If you wait, he'll bring the right people to make that thing, to bring that vision to fruition. Trust me, I know.
Exactly. Mm.
Yeah. So you're based
Yeah.
in London. Yeah.
Yes, we
Okay.
are based in London.
All right. Well, the fortunate thing is that through technology, there's
Hmm.
actually nowhere you can't reach people, because
Yeah.
like right now, people are tuned in with us from around the world.
Hmm.
So
Excellent.
technology is a great help, especially when it comes to doing the things that God's called you to do.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, because we talked, I'm actually going to turn over the floor to you so that
Right.
you can ask me with all those questions that I said. I
Yeah.
wrote down all the answers. You can
Yeah.
you can have the floor.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So, Dwight, D major, is that correct?
Yes, that's that name. Jeez, I've been using that as an artist name since the late '80s. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a while.
Right. So
So
you're also an artist.
I was an
Mhm.
artist.
Mhm.
Um, I started out uh, just programming music, making beats.
Mhm.
And the short story is I graduated from that to joining a
Mhm.
band. I was a keyboard player in a band, also a drummer. Then I became the lead singer, and we were together. I was in that band for about 10 years.
All
And
right.
so, we toured a bit, and I've done a few solo projects. So I was an artist. A lot of people are trying
Mm.
to keep me as being an artist. I'm trying to be a
Oh
producer.
wow.
You know,
Oh
there's
really?
there's days
Okay, that's the new path,
I'm
right?
trying to yeah, I'm trying to just do producing. I've been doing producing
Mhm.
for just the same amount of time, but I
Mhm.
really want to focus. I want to focus on building and
Mhm.
developing other producers. I've been producing
Wow.
for so long. I'm not
Yeah.
bored, but I want to
Mhm.
develop others as well.
Wow. And that's fantastic, Dwight, because that's what's needed, because there are people out there who are interested in production, but there's probably not enough producers out there who want to step out and say, you know what, I'm willing to pass on some things what I know. So what basically. So that's commendable. Well done.
Yes, we
So
have. I actually have a few students that I'm
mhm.
teaching here locally in Leicester, and as well as online. So
Wow.
I've kind of started it officially in terms of the training, like
Hmm.
specifically for music production. I've done training for live sound, specifically for churches, to train engineers how to do
Hmm.
sound properly in a church setting or school, and just community centers. I've been training since 2000 in terms of
Oh
just
wow.
general audio, but now I really want to begin to focus more on developing younger producers. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Exciting. 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 So let's talk Leap Studios.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, let's talk about Leap Studios, because obviously online we've seen a lot of you've been doing a lot of work with artists. We've seen artists live in the studio, which is a fantastic element, actually. To
Yes.
see the artists live whilst they're at it. So it's not like the finished article. This is as it comes, isn't it?
Yes.
So
And we
you
keep it
know,
raw. We try to let you see what happens, along the entire process, the
yeah,
good and the bad.
nice.
It's
I
not
know it's
easy.
very nice. Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed, indeed.
Well, Leap.
So,
Let me
mhm,
tell you how we started, just to
mhm.
give you the short version, because we could be here all night. The short version is that my wife and I, we were actually working out of our house,
Mm,
trying to get things going, and I know for a fact that God told me to look for a space, like to just look for a space to to
wow.
start again, because this I was doing this back in Bermuda. We're from Bermuda. I've been doing this
Okay.
since like 1985. But coming to the
Mm,
UK, 4 years ago, we had to start from nothing.
mm,
So in October of 2017. We wrote our vision. My wife articulated it, she expanded it, and we looked at
Wow.
it and was like, wow, this is huge. Lord,
Mm.
only you and you and you and you can do this. This
Alone.
is huge. So
Mm.
that um, that led to, well, no, in November, that's when I got that unction to start looking for a space. And I called this place. They had an office for rent. So I came to look at the office and never
Mm.
had heard of this place ever in my
Wow.
life. And when I
Wow.
came here, I was shown the studio that you see
Mm-hmm.
now that has been here for like 6 years without any activity.
Wow.
So we literally walked in and were handed the keys with just my hard drive. Everything that you see here
Mm-hmm.
was here,
Right. It was fully equipped.
fully equipped. So I left and I went home and I called my wife. I said, "Listen, your mind's gonna be blown. I need to see that vision, please." This is November now. We wrote the
Mm.
vision in October. When I got
Mm-hmm.
home, I read the vision. Every item,
Mm.
every single item that we wrote in October was in this building in
Wow.
November. Every single thing. Like my mind is still blown to how God could do
Wow.
that. Never
You didn't
even
have to
heard of.
buy any.
Yeah, before coming to Leicester, I never even heard of Leicester,
Wow.
let alone Highfields where we are now. I'd never even heard of it, but came to this
Mm.
studio, and everything that we asked God for was in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Wow. God is
mind
good.
blown. So we're here now. We begun to promote the studio, to let people know what we do. Um, it's a pretty large facility. We can accommodate a full band, a choir, a group. We've had live music events where musicians came, people sang. So it's a nice space,
Yeah.
and we're just trying to let people know we're here. These are the services that we offer, and we
Mm.
want to keep it at a high standard. We're very
Fantastic.
particular in terms of the level that we work at, and I want
Mm.
to maintain a kingdom standard in
Wow. Excellent.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. Sometimes I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm hard on myself, but
Mm.
I have a high standard,
Mm.
and I find it very hard to just let something go without giving it my
Perfecting it.
absolute,
Yeah.
yeah, my
Best.
absolute
Yeah.
best. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's good. I mean, it's much needed. It's much needed. So, in terms of so when you're teaching people, are you basically just doing gospel reggae, or are you doing a bit of all genres? What
I've
you
done
concentrate
For me as a
on?
producer.
Hmm.
I can create and produce any genre of music. We've had clients that have done hip hop, jazz, R&B, traditional
Mm.
gospel. I've been wearing those hats for years.
Okay.
I want to specialize as I'm developing other producers. I
Hmm.
want to focus on my reggae production. I want to take it to a next level, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I want
Exciting.
to. Yeah, I've got a lot to learn. I'm
Mm.
still learning. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning every day, and I want to be able to grow,
Mm.
especially where reggae, and gospel reggae is concerned. I want to master that. Yeah. So the other stuff is fine. I want to be able to continue to do that and train other people, to outsource and get other contributors to a lot of the
Hmm.
stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
But for me, my goal is to increase my level in terms of reggae music production. That's my
It's music
2020
to my
goal.
ears.
So I do a lot of
Music.
studying. there are
Yeah.
a few producers who I study.
Mm.
Yeah, there are a few producers that I study, and that includes Danny Brownie
Okay.
and Jermaine. Um, I forget Jermaine's last name right
Jermaine
now.
Edwards. Was it
Yes,
the Jermaine Edwards? Okay.
yeah. The
Right.
the the content, the way
Mm.
they create.
Mm.
I that's who I study. That's who I go to first. In
Wow.
terms
Okay.
of bands, um, any good reggae band, in terms of the live feel of it,
Mm-hmm.
I study those as well because I have to kind of maintain that. Having been in a reggae band, playing drums and playing keyboards, I
Mm-hmm.
understand what it's supposed to feel like. So
Right.
when I recognize music at a certain level, I'm kind of drawn to it, and it kind of
Mm.
keeps me, it keeps my training going, in
Mm.
terms of the level and the musicianship, the style. All that's important to me when I'm producing. So I actually have to, I have to keep studying. And the way I study is I just study other producers or bands. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now that you're saying study, so what does that look like in terms when you said you like studies someone such as Jermaine Edwards, who's one of our now real established gospel reggae artists now?
hmm
Um, what does that look like to study a producer? What are you doing typically? If you can divulge, you can share some of
Okay.
that
Let me.
study work.
I'll just break it down into manageable chunks. I
Mm-hmm.
study the rhythmic, um, the the rhythm of their music,
Mm.
the way the instruments are played, how they complement each other.
Mm.
I study
Mm-hmm.
timing. I study tone. Um, I study the choice of instruments. I don't
Cool.
just use anything. For
No.
for
Mm.
for for reggae, in particular, the type of reggae I produce, the choice of instrument is like 90%. That if you miss that, then you got a lot to catch up on. If you
Mm.
don't get the instrumentation right, the tone, the way it's played. Um, so I also study the musicians themselves, like bass players, how they're actually playing the notes, how
Mm.
long they're holding the notes, what type of
Right.
touch on the strings, what type of touch on the keyboards. The For drummers, I always listen to someone when they play hi hats. When you're playing a hi hat in reggae, you can't just hit the hi hat. It's
Mm.
a touch. It's a special touch, and I can
Wow.
tell.
Deep.
Yeah, I can tell he's at a certain level just by listening to him play.
Okay.
And it's not about all the fancy drum rolls and all the technical stuff you can do.
Mm. Mm.
It's the touch, especially
Mm.
for drums and bass. It's the way you touch
Definitely.
the instrument. That's the
Mm.
90% of it. So
Yeah.
those things, I listen to the music. I listen to the way the music talks, the instrumentation. In music, a lot of times you get excited when you're young. You
Mm.
start creating all these parts, all these different melodies, and everything becomes so busy, you don't leave any room for a singer. So by the
All right.
time you put a singer in the track, the whole
Mm-hmm.
composition is an argument when it should be a
Yeah.
conversation. When people have a conversation, typically one person speaks, then they wait, the other person speaks. Everyone has a time to speak. So it's conversational. And music needs to be the same way. Otherwise, it becomes an argument. You got all these different instruments competing for my airspace in a short space of time, and it ends up being noise. So I listen to the space that's left for a singer. The music should support, it shouldn't outshine the singer. The music should support and elevate the singer right to the front. And that's what I listen for. And when I hear music that's not like that, it's actually quite painful. I and I'm not one to. I haven't mastered the my facial expressions when I don't like
How to
something.
look indifferent.
Yeah. So I'll have to. I probably turn my head or yeah. But
Yeah.
those are the things I study. I study the vocalists, how long they hold their notes.
Mm,
It's not about for me. It's not about how many riffs you can do, but how
mm,
well you ride the rhythm. How do you fit
mm,
in between that horn part and the guitar part? Do you have to sing over it, or can you stop just before it so that guitar part can be heard? So it's very technical. And when I'm
mm.
working with artists, I have that in mind. I challenge them. I challenge the way they sing to help them to fit into the music so that it
Yeah.
flows, right?
Mm.
So that's yeah, that's that.
Well, it's very impactful. Nice, nice. So I
Yeah.
suppose then that just brings us up nicely to the title
Yes.
of of this talk,
Yes.
really, of
How
this
has
interview.
the gospel reggae industry changed?
Mm,
Yeah. So
what a
how many
topic.
years have you been like, kind of following the gospel reggae? How many years would you say?
Alright, so I think for gospel reggae music, it was when about the time when Soul Cure came about. I think I don't know what year they exactly came. That's Soul Cure Radio, by the way.
Yeah.
And for those who are not sure, um, I think it was the year 2009 or 10, basically.
Mm,
And back then, so I was at the time I was doing a little DJ radio in myself, and at that point I was doing radio. I didn't really know about gospel reggae music in around 2008 9, and then I suddenly realized I think it was actually DJ Pokemo from listening to a show that I realized that there was all this gospel reggae music because I really didn't know.
wow.
And then after that, I'm realizing that gospel reggae music was properly there. I mean, I did know in terms of the Lester Lewises, the foundation, the original pioneers of gospel reggae music. Those I
Mm-hmm.
know. I know of Grace Fuller, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
know those original from when I was young growing up, but not in terms of the Eddie Neblets, the Jermaine Edwards.
Yeah.
You understand? I
Yes.
didn't know there was this arena there. So yeah, so we're talking about now 10 years, and it's oh wow, it's an amazing to see the growth because I remember the back days when the days of Eddie Neblet and Jermaine Edwards when they just started,
Right.
and I think wow, to where how they are now, I think wow.
Yes. The I started, I would say, professionally in maybe the early 90s
Mm,
in terms of gospel reggae. Prior to that,
okay,
I was kind of just, doing reggae and doing all sorts of genres. But I
okay,
started to focus on reggae and include the gospel in my songs that I was writing.
mm,
Our first formal gospel reggae project was with my fellow friend and Bermudian artist, Janaman. That was in
okay.
1998. And we were
Did you
amongst the
say
first.
what's his name? Sorry, Dwight. What was
Janaman.
his name?
Gentleman.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Gentleman,
His
okay.
first album was called Righteous in Christ. I actually had him on
Mhm,
our program the other night. He was in
mhm.
in in
All
um
right, yes, I
England
did see
visiting.
him. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So when we started, there were other guys like Lion of Judah, Monty G,
Mm,
Fire Links, Christopher had kind of just started,
mm,
and the in the beginning, not all of the production was at the level in terms of radio worthy. Yet,
mm,
guys were creating stuff basically in their bedrooms. No one really had that much money to go to a real studio, so to speak.
mm,
So the production level wasn't quite high
mm,
for most of it. So it wouldn't get a lot of radio play. Radio stations, they had especially when in where I came from. If your music wasn't at a certain level, there's no way it's getting on the radio.
You're gonna get aired.
Yeah.
Okay.
So over the years, one thing that I began to do as a producer was to invest in better equipment, training myself to be able to play music. I'm self-taught,
Wow.
and I
Okay.
wouldn't say that I'm a keyboard player, but I can create music.
Mm.
And over that time, the music, everyone else was you can hear the growth in everything. So every
Yeah,
time
it's
someone
true.
released a project, you hear a little bit better, a little bit better. And I think by the time, yeah, the early 2000s to what the mid 2000s, the music was on par with anything else that was out there.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
that's when people began to kind of look at it as, hey, this is a viable market
Mm.
from a
Mm.
business perspective. They were like,
Mm.
wow, these guys, and the singers and the DJs, the artists, they were getting better and better and better. So I saw that change happen
Mm.
over like between 2000 and 2010, 2012 to now, where we have artists within gospel reggae that are like amongst the best vocalists in the world,
Mm.
right? In
Mm.
my opinion,
Mm.
musicianship, the best in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
We're not like behind.
Mm.
This is a level playing field now, and
Wow.
it's taken like 20 years, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
we're here now.
Thank God.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
one area that I can see that it has changed, and that's the level of production and
Mm.
the level of the performance of it in terms of the singing and the
The quality.
musicianship. Yeah. So
Mm.
what, in your view, what have you seen? Like what outside of that, what have you seen as a change?
Um, I suppose okay, I'm talking now from someone who just was a lover of music then, you know. Um so growing up listening to the Lester Lewis's, the Grace Thrillers, that type of church styled gospel reggae. So it had to be obviously back then when the initiators, the pioneers came, their gospel reggae, how they saw it, they had to kind of adapt it so that it was like church worthy, that people, because they had their own pressures basically of trying to even get it, you know,
Yeah.
people to accept it because it's reggae. So it wasn't accepted. So in terms of that, I see the change of where now. I mean, we're running rhythms like water now. You know, real rock rhythm. We're not playing with the rhythms now. We're just laying down, you know, laying down vocals on rhythms now. So that's the change I see, where now we're not afraid to, there is concerts going on where we're going in the churches. We're not afraid to say, yes, this is
Yeah.
us. We love reggae music and we can do it with the word of God inside. That's where we're at now, where before, you know, you couldn't do that. That, you know, you hear people talking about, you hear the Lester Lewises say it, how hard it was, the Papa Sands, you know, you
Yeah.
hear them speak about their struggle, even the sound system guys. You know, there's been talk from them. Shekinah Sounds, they have stories. Elder Henry, you know, in Birmingham, their stories of
Yeah.
how it was just unacceptable for gospel reggae music inside the church. It was
Yeah.
known as the devil music.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I experienced
So,
all of that.
oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
about that. Right? How was that for you in terms of
I
hearing the
mean,
negativity?
we we were by the time um, I was producing and for myself and other people,
Mm,
I did have I would say a slight advantage. I was already familiar in my
mm,
community anyway with some of the influencers in terms of promoters, radio station DJs, also sound systems. So I had a certain level of influence when it came to getting exposure.
mm,
Prior to that, the experience, I was able to gain that experience because in Bermuda, it was hard to get local music played on the radio anyway. So
Mm.
from the 80s, for probably 10 years straight, it was a fight, that I was fighting radio stations like every week to just try and get local airplay. Eventually, the walls began to come down just in
Mm.
terms of radio. So by the time the gospel reggae began to come, it was able to gain some airplay. Now, for us, the advantage was that a lot of people heard the music on the radio and they were
Mm.
already purchasing it. They were,
Oh,
back
nice.
then we were doing CDs. So
Mm.
artists like Janama, Junior C, and Septimus from out of Bermuda, these guys, their music was being purchased. Troy
Right.
Anthony, and he began to, it was kind of a little bit later when he started to record, but the music was being purchased. So the people in the churches already had the
Hmm.
music
Right.
and they
Okay.
were already listening to it on the radio.
Mm.
But there were times when, artists, they went years, without any sort of exposure in a church setting. It would be an event outside of the church.
Mm.
Someone would invite them to come, or in schools, but having opportunities inside the church, that took a lot. Even if the pastors were already consumers of the music,
Of the music.
they were already buying it, but there
Right.
was still a stumbling block in terms of getting it
In the
performed
church.
in the
Wow.
church. Everyone in the church had bought it. They're listening to it. They love it. It's on the
Right.
radio. But there was something like you know, okay, it's a difference now if you're going to go on the
You go in the
stage.
church. Yeah.
So it, it, it was it was a transitional period.
Mm.
And some people, some artists, they still haven't got the opportunities that they could have.
Mm.
However, it hasn't stopped them. That's
Mm.
the thing I'm glad is that it hasn't stopped, excuse me, any of the artists that I know. As a matter of fact,
Mm.
it kind of pushed them even
Further.
further.
Yeah.
You know
Mm.
what I mean? Just those little obstacles. And it's sad, that it had to happen that way. But
Mm.
hear this,
Mm.
the benefit is that the music that these artists are creating is not for the people in the church. It's not for
True
those
word
people
there.
in the building.
Because they're well
They
fed
already
anyway.
know.
They know the gospel.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
no sense. So I got to a point where, we were like, well, what sense does it make just to continue to entertain ourselves
Mm.
with, because that's what you're doing. If it's only Christians in a gathering and all you're doing is singing, the Christian songs, spreading the gospel amongst the
Hmm.
people that already know it inside the
Yeah.
building. So that, to me, that doesn't make sense just to do that and to limit it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So,
Two
for
within the four
yeah.
walls.
Now
Yeah.
looking at it, I think it was probably a good thing that they weren't
Mm.
given those opportunities for being inside the church. Maybe they would have been stuck and never got
Yeah.
outside to be able
That's a
to
good point.
expose the music to the people that needed it. So
Yeah.
God knows what He's doing. Sometimes we can't
Exactly. Yeah.
understand it, but when you
Ex-
look at it,
yeah.
it couldn't be any better opportunity than to be
Yeah.
refused from somewhere where you don't need to be, and kind of
Exactly.
forced into an area
To
where you
go
should
where you
be.
should be. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. 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 That's. I mean, that point there that you've raised, Dwight, just really helps. That gives a sense of peace. That gives a sense of peace to me as well. And I'm sure to many others who love gospel reggae music, like, don't worry, if you find that it's hard to impact your church environment, like Dwight says, maybe God doesn't want it directly inside the four walls. This is a gospel, that we can, only us can reach those people. They're people that are coming from a hardcore reggae background.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, that you need to reach. Now, don't be afraid that you love your bass line, you know, that you like your chops.
Yeah, man.
don't be,
Run the rhythm.
don't be, yeah, don't be afraid that you love that bubble on the Hammond organ. That's good. That's all part of how God created you, you know, for you to go ahead and spread the gospel, you know. So as you said, I think church, as we go back to our, what, you know, our headline topic, which is gospel reggae music, how the industry has changed. Those are
Hmm.
one of the issues in terms that, so one, we said the quality has got better. Number two, we've said that in terms of acceptance of gospel reggae music is you know, is a lot better than it was. When a
Yeah,
lot better, it's we're now at a place where we're not afraid to, okay, go to a church and said, can we have, you know, can we hold events? But we do know now that gospel reggae music is not really for the church environment. This is
yeah,
to carry out of the four walls and minister to the community. For those who are, you know, who love reggae music, we can
yeah.
touch their hearts, you know.
I've had a number of clients that are from a gospel background, even
Mm,
from a secular background.
mm-hmm.
The artists, you know, that I've worked with, they're getting requests for dub plates from a secular sound system, and they're
Oh,
not asking them to compromise their lyrics. They love,
serious.
yeah, man, they love the song, and we want that song in a dub plate for this song. And I can tell you right now, you know, unless it's a specific idea that the sound system wants, if my wife is doing a dub, she doesn't change up much. She'll include, you
Really?
know, their name. No, it's that's who the song is. It's your
Mm,
song. So why should an
mm,
artist have to change up, you know, what they believe to suit
yeah.
another agenda?
Yep.
So where the gospel reggae is concerned now, you know, people that are not even nowhere near a church, they're embracing the message and they want
Mm,
that to promote their song. So that,
yeah.
to me, that shows progress because it wasn't
Amen.
like that 10 years ago.
No.
No,
No. Mm, mm,
no,
mm,
it wasn't like that 10 years ago. But
yeah.
now, because I think we're in a time when the world is beginning to feel itself, like the world is beginning to feel the need
Mm,
for salvation.
yeah.
And who better than to deliver that message,
Mm,
right?
mm, definitely.
So I'll encourage any artist um, to, you know, not to like water down your content to
Mm,
think that you need to do that to get ahead. No, man, your
mm,
content is, those are your tools. That's your weapons. You take that into battle. And
yeah.
if they trying to get you to water it down, hey, it's not for you.
Don't, yeah, definitely. Don't let them do that to you.
No,
Yep.
man, stand firm.
Yep.
You know, there's no way
Yeah.
you're not gonna
Yeah.
call Capleton and tell him to water. No,
He's gonna, yeah. Yeah.
no, he's not gonna do that.
No. He's gonna say fire for bond them, innit?
Yeah, yeah, you're not gonna. It's not gonna change. So why should I
Yeah.
change? Why
Why
should
should we change?
no, no,
Mm,
man? Be who you are. You know what I mean? Represent. Be who you are and represent whose child you are.
mm,
Represent, man. Simple
yeah.
as that. Represent.
And the thing is, as well, when you say be who you are, that's who our pioneers, they continued to be who they were. They didn't let the obstacles they faced said, okay, you know what, we're going to have to change. You know, maybe we shouldn't put a reggae rhythm on the sub. Maybe that's not the way to do it. They knew what they were given in their hearts, and they
Mm.
continued. And it's our duty now to continue it in the way God has called us to do it. We can't afford, you know, to slow down on it. We got to keep going, you
Yeah,
know. Got to keep
yeah.
going,
It's no
got to
slowing
keep
down. No.
focused. Yeah, and keep moving forward and
Mm.
getting better,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So as we can see, like gospel reggae music, the tone of it, the feel of it, we can remember how it sounded. It wasn't, you could tell that they didn't want to try and put too much rhythm and beat in there. You didn't
Right.
really hear the bass line too tough back in the day
Yeah.
on something. I mean, we had, I think the closest I heard to a good bass line was like Tony Rich, God rest his soul, you know.
Okay.
Um, is Jamaican born. He was an artist that I remember back in the day. I used to think, wow, this sounds very much, very, it had a good reggae tone to it.
Yeah.
So now we're like I said, we're properly into it. We're not afraid to use the rhythms now, the rhythms that we know of as
Mm-hmm.
in the world. But now, which is, I think, is taking back what it was originally ours
Mm.
in God's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what I would like to see the change going forward is for the secular artists to take on the Jermaine Edwards song,
Yeah.
to take on a Chevelle Franklin, or to take on an Eddie Neblett, to take on a Jason Mighty, to take on a DJ Nicholas, to take on those artists now that we know, and say, now we're gonna go and sing those songs. Because right now we're at a place where we're kind of using what what is out there now, and then we're replacing it with the lyrical content, with God lyrical contents.
Right.
But what I'd like to see as a future change is now the secular artists are saying, wow, I like that tune, I'm gonna go and repeat it now. That way,
Yes.
because in order for the music now to go on a wider scale.
Mm.
So as we
Yes.
continue to make good music, the secular artists start to look and say, boy, that tune sounds it sounds nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and add my color on it. So they're not
Yes.
changing, like you said, they're not gonna change it now because it is what it is, and they want to praise God too, because as much as they try to avoid it, they know God is God, you
Yes.
know, and they know he's real. So that is, I think, should be our aim, where we make good music. The producers like yourselves are making good
Mm-hmm.
music in the studios. The artists are coming forth with good lyrical content. They're not watering down their content. They're saying that they're putting they're stating who God is, what God has done for them. Therefore the music touches these people out there in the world so much that they wanted to come now and start to sing our songs. That's what I think we need to be heading for now.
Yes, I agree. And I think that it even challenges the artist in terms of their writing to
Mm,
be able
yes.
to write songs that touch on someone's heart from maybe it's from the result of an experience that person had or someone they know, but
Mm,
the lyrical content, that's because of the growth that
yes.
the gospel reggae artists have experienced over these last 10, 15 years, that
Hmm.
the writing ability has increased. And, if you write a good song, even if
Hmm.
it's not a gospel song, if it's a good song that touches someone, it's hard to avoid that. So,
Yeah.
with to me, content is critical in any
Hmm.
song. The content. What are you singing about? Why are
Hmm.
you singing that? I think that if we write songs based on the truth of our lives and the
Mm,
truth of who God is in us,
yes.
those songs, they can touch anybody.
Mm,
And anybody can be drawn to them because of where the content is and actually from where it came from that person's, wherever it, whether it was from, like I said, from their own experience or something that God gave them. The writing and the content is key. And then, and like you said, maybe the artist will be looking to, you know what, I want to cover that song.
mm,
I want to cover a Troy Anthony song. I want to
yeah.
cover, a
Yeah.
Jermaine Edwards song. I want to cover a Lita
Yeah.
Marie song, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Definitely.
can we
Yeah.
can get there, and I think we have the talent. We are
Hmm.
definitely on our way because if you listen, I was listening to Kevin Downsville the other
Yes.
day. Sometimes
Mm,
you know, I'm not a music consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it may sound strange. I've never been a consumer of music. I don't buy anything. I don't go out looking for music. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so busy trying to create it. I wouldn't even have
Yeah.
the time to enjoy it. But the
Oh
times
wow.
I do have, I'll set aside something. I'll
Mm-hmm.
hear something and I'll go searching for it, and I'll listen.
Mm-hmm.
Most
Mm-hmm.
the most Mostly when I'm listening to music, I'm listening to learn. So it's still kind of work related. But I was listening to Kevin Downsville, and when I listen to the beauty in his music, I mean, it wasn't like this 10, 15 years ago. It just wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like this. So anyone that's listening to, you're hearing this Kevin Downsville song, any artist, any Michael Jackson, Prince, whoever can come on behind that and it's at that level. I'm not talking
Mm.
about the style. I'm talking about just the content and the composition, the way it was put together. It's at a
Mm.
superior level.
Yeah.
And gospel reggae artists are working at that level now. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
Fantastic. Yeah.
surprised if it's sooner rather than later that, artists that are not Christians are
Mm.
going to want to cover, you know, gospel reggae artists' songs. It's inevitable because they're writing
Yep.
good material.
Definitely. I mean, it will be beautiful to see. You'll know that we've the genre has really grown when we start to see that happening more. We'll know that yes. I mean, God has blessed us to get to this stage, and it's obviously that God is in what we're doing, right? He's not saying, "No, we're not doing." You love, it's accepted. You can get that from the way that you see different people rising up,
Yeah.
and coming forth. That this is a God thing. God is not taken away from the fact that we are proper reggae lovers. You
Yeah.
know, and this is what I want to get forth. That
Yeah.
look, I'm not hiding it from you. I love, absolutely adore reggae music. I've always have. I'm sure Dwight can say the same, and many other people that could tell you, look, it first began because we love reggae music, and
Yeah.
somehow God has tweaked us and turned us so that He's saying, you know what? I know you love your reggae music, and I want you now to go and target a certain people, or even just do what you do, right? And you will see people come towards you, but they're not coming towards you; they're coming towards me,
Yeah.
because that's
Yes.
that's what they see,
Mm.
you know. People get sucked into, oh, this sounds good, but really, who is the maker of those sounds?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
we'll get to heaven and we'll see a big sound system up there in heaven. Trust me, Shekinah running. Brother Charles running tune. LEAP
Yes.
Studios
Yeah, man. Yeah.
running, welcoming us into heaven. So we're not. This is not a superficial thing where we're saying, we're only making it because we love tune and we love to say tune is good,
Right.
tune is sweet. No, this is something serious. So I also want to say that in terms of Reggae Gospel 360, that's one of the things that we want to also put forth in terms of when you listen to a gospel reggae song,
Hmm.
we don't only want you to say good tune, sounds nice. We want you to hear. We ask the artist to give the inspiration behind the song. What made you write it? Why did you choose the rhythm? We want now the artist to expound on what they do, because we
Yes.
know that in their hearts they're coming from a deeper place.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, they've
Yeah.
chosen a rhythm, they've built the track, and they've gone to the studio. But sometimes when you get to know when artists have come from, even the producers, how they came up with a rhythm, it might have come from a place where we wouldn't have expected in terms of to encourage someone.
Hmm.
So we need to now not only we're bringing the quality, we're bringing everything, and we also need to help the people to understand where that gifting is coming from,
Yeah.
where that talent is coming from. It's coming from God. So that's what
Yes.
we're showing now. We're putting it all in now. We're saying, look, we can do good music just as well as you can, but we want to tell you how that good music came about. It didn't come from us.
Yeah.
It came from God. That's where I think the Lord is saying to us, that's what we need to do. As much as making good content, good quality things going on, we need to push to the people where it came from. It
Yeah.
comes from God, because ultimately, in order for reggae music to continue, it needs God.
Yes.
It needs God. And I think that gospel reggae music is key for the survival and the continuation, not even the survival, for the growth
Yes.
of reggae music. Gospel reggae music is key to it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's a lot to take in, and
Mm,
that's encouraging to me, even as a producer. You know, and that's part of the reason why I mentioned to you earlier that I'm in a constant state of learning,
mm,
and growth, because I want to be able to do what I do at a greater level, and also
mm.
help others to do
Yeah.
what they do, to maximize these gifts that God has given us. I don't want to
Mm,
just sit down and, get comfortable where I'm at. I've come a long way from where I started as a producer, and I'm sure there are a number of artists that have come a long way from, from when they started. But
mm,
going forward, it's like you need to be in a constant state of learning and developing,
mm.
because there's
Yeah.
still more in us. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? As
Untapped.
much,
Right?
yeah, man. As much as sometimes I try to dress back, because running a business is a completely different animal than
Mm,
being creative. And
mm,
sometimes it's I have to separate the two. I have to have creative time and administrative time or
mm.
business time. I don't function, I can only kind of do like one thing at a time. I can't
At time.
multitask.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, so I get lost a lot
Yeah.
in cars and stuff. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that if if you if you devote the time,
Mm.
even if it's, look, man, even if it's 5 minutes, make those 5 minutes the best
Count.
five
Mm,
minutes that you can. If you're gonna learn something, if you see
mm.
something that you don't know, study it.
Yeah.
Find out how they did it. Don't be scared to ask questions. People ask me questions all the time. I get a lot of inboxes.
Wow.
They're bold. Even ask,
Serious.
someone ask you for money, just boldly. Just,
Wow.
hey, look, bro, can you hook me up? But
Wow.
I, yeah, man, I get all sorts of questions. But I have a lot of questions about how I do this. I said, look, man, study, practice,
Mm,
keep keep doing it. Don't give up. Develop. Set your bar a little higher next time. Get to that
yeah.
level, master it, and then set it even higher. I told my wife something this morning. I was joking, but I think I was kind of serious. I told her that I was driving, and I found my real voice, and she don't want to hear it. I told her I was gonna surprise her. I'm not gonna share it to everybody tonight. But even for myself, I've begun developing artists. I have a few students where I'm doing vocal development as well, and I've had to go back into my archives, to exercises and techniques that I was taught. And I'm not no like singer. I'm not,
Mm,
no, no, no. But I know a lot, and I've had to restudy the things that I learned before and take on more knowledge so that I can
mm.
now effectively develop these artists, right? In terms
Right.
of their vocal ability, their breathing, rhythm. Um,
Mm,
that's on a side note. That's one thing I find a lot in music. Period. Like a
mm,
lot of artists, they don't fit on the music like rhythmically. Like
mm.
sometimes they're all over the place, and I think I know why.
Right.
You have people that they're constantly singing their songs in their head, and they're learning every part of it without music. So
Okay.
they have no rhythmic scale to go by. So they don't know. There's no beats. So when they
Mm,
come to a studio, they're programmed to sing the
mm,
song the way they've been singing it for that whole year. in their head,
In their
and
head.
they're not able to change it. So you
Mm,
find producers like myself who have to go in afterwards and move vocals and shift them so that they fit in the music.
mm, mm,
No, it wasn't like that. Back in the day, you had to be able to ride a rhythm. You had to
mm.
fit in it. You had to ride it. If you couldn't
Yep.
ride it, you give me the mic. Get
Get
out,
out.
get away, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Mm,
for artists now, for those who are not at that level, those are the things you need to do.
mm-hmm,
Practice, train, learn other people's songs so you can get familiar with
mm. It's a good
rhythm.
tip.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because too much, I've experienced it too much within the last 10 years or so, where people are not riding the rhythm, and I can't, I don't like to move vocals, and then sometimes when you let them hear it, they're like, "Oh, that's what you mean."
Mm.
No, man, you need to, and it comes from training. When I was in the band that I was in, Justice in Bermuda, we rehearsed 3 nights a week, four
Okay.
hours at least per night. Even if we didn't have a show, we
Wow.
rehearsed. We went without a show for I think was probably 2 years. We rehearsed every single week. Rehearsed, rehearsed, rehearsed. We rehearsed. There's a saying that says you should rehearse until you get it right. We took it a step further. We
Hmm.
rehearsed until we couldn't
Hmm.
get it wrong.
Wow. Serious.
But it
Dedication.
came through dedication. It came through sacrifice for those that are able to sacrifice. Not everyone, when you
Hmm.
get older, you got a family and things change, and sometimes your time gets kind of,
Mm.
it's difficult.
Mm.
But during the time that you have,
Do what you
if
can. Innit?
yeah, man, rehearse, like practicing, 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 and keep practicing. And I say this to my singers, right?
Mm.
This is a free nugget to the singers,
Hmm.
because myself as a vocalist back in the day, I found that us as singers,
Hmm.
we are the laziest people in the world. If you
Okay.
look at every other profession, every
Hmm.
athlete, people that are in a professional capacity, they train. They train to
Mm.
maintain that standard that they've reached. They exercise. They don't just sit on it. But too
Mm.
many of us vocalists, when's the last time we actually did vocal training or learned how to correctly breathe so that when you sing, the right tone and the maximum, that your voice can be is actually being,
Projected.
coming across? Yeah,
Yeah.
man. But if you don't train, you're never going to get there.
Right.
If you don't
So.
exercise, you know, you don't see musicians, they practice, because you
Yeah.
got to be able to play. But
Mm.
singers, me included,
Hmm.
lazy. You have to, no, man. You have to practice. You have to train. Most of my clients, when I
Hmm.
ask them about breathing, I would say 99% of them don't have a clue what I'm talking about.
Mm.
Like oh no, I don't do that. Do you do vocal training? No, I just sing. And after taking them through just a few sessions, they're able to see a night and day difference between
And their
what they were
vocals.
doing and what they're able to do now with less effort.
Wow.
And I find it,
Sharpening the axe.
yeah, man. Are you gonna go
Mm.
to a dentist that you found out he really didn't study, or he doesn't know? You're not putting that in
God
my
forbid.
mouth.
A
No,
dentist.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, but I,
Yeah.
I encourage I encourage singers, also producers,
Mm.
for us to become better. I learned that a good training regimen that I
Hmm.
did as a young producer was to create other, just to recreate something that was already done. I made it a habit to get a track and then recreate it. Get another track, recreate it, recreate it. What it does, it develops your brain in terms of creativity, um,
Hmm.
instrumentation, learning different tones of instruments. And when I
Yes.
say rehearse, when I say create another track, I mean create it exactly how it was created.
Replicate it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that makes you search. It makes you listen. Okay, what kind of piano
Right.
is that? And you have to find that
Exactly.
exact. What kind of drum? How did they play the
Mm,
drums? And it makes
snare.
you
Yeah.
search,
Yeah.
and then it gives you a greater understanding of what it is
Hmm.
that you're actually doing. If you
Yeah.
only do what you do and don't
Hmm.
practice, you're gonna kind of be in this little
In a
box.
box.
So
Yeah.
I had to stretch myself. I was doing jazz. No, I'm not a keyboard player, but I was doing jazz pieces. I was doing
Mm,
gospel pieces. I'm a reggae man.
mm,
But over, I would say, probably a 2-year period, I had clients coming to me to create R&B beats.
mm.
I started, I was reggae, just 2 chords, then just 3 fingers. That's it,
Yeah.
man. That's how I
Yeah.
started.
Yeah. Yeah.
But over time, because I I had a
Practice.
training regimen, I practiced and I practiced producing, and it helped to develop my ideas, my instrument selection, what instruments sound good together, what
Hmm.
instruments make stuff sound busy. When
Yeah.
you
Mm,
practice replicating, especially good music,
yeah.
you develop the skills quicker. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
I think that's a good tip. I mean, because hearing some music, especially with gospel reggae music, and especially it's actually widely loved. Actually, I find that there is, other than in Jamaica, or I would say, especially in maybe even like in Africa, gospel reggae in itself is loved. You know, but I think what would be that tip where you gave is listening and hearing the sound, hearing that sound. So make sure your especially your bass line. We had this kind of online conversation about this. As someone said, from one of the gospel platforms, why is reggae got heavy bass line? You know, it's you know, but that is the key ingredient of reggae
Oh
music.
yeah. Oh.
you know and so what I'd say, and I suppose, Dwight, you would also agree with me, what we're saying, when you're producing gospel reggae music, please, pay attention to your bass formation. you
Yeah.
know and get, probably get, if you're not sure, because sometimes people make reggae productions, or people sing on productions, and they say it's reggae, a gospel reggae production, but it kind of it wouldn't, it needs a bit more work, because we're not asking you to like replicate something to make it stamp
Right.
something else, but we're saying we need the gospel reggae music to be authentic,
Yeah.
please. If you really want to delve into the gospel reggae, and help to carry it forward, we would ask, and I suppose Dwight would ask, that you find studios that can make authentic gospel, reggae tracks,
Yeah.
basically. And if you're not sure, then people like Dwight are there, because I know sometimes if you don't have the resource to go to, it's kind of difficult to make something if you don't know who to go to. Now
Right.
there are studios like Dwight, LEAP Studios, who does training, who is willing to help. But we need to set it, and we need more like you, Dwight, so that people can get an understanding of what it is. I mean, we're not telling you to go in a straight line, follow it, A B C D E F G,
Right.
but so that we have good, authentic gospel reggae music. Please,
Yes.
please pay attention to your bass lines.
I agree. Oh
You know,
man. Yeah.
pay
Yes.
attention to
Um.
your rhythm guitar.
Yeah.
Get that chops, get a nice chop.
Yeah.
If you're not sure what it sounds like Dwight says, you can even listen, because Bob Marley tracks, you can hear, you would always have that nice tranger, stringer, yeah, that nice, proper, solid thing. Now, we're not saying we're replicating it. No, we're not saying that. And we're not being critical about it, but because we now realize we're at the stage where we need to help each other. And you
Yeah.
see, the vision that God has given Dwight, from LEAP Studios to do, is to help others, you know.
Mm.
So we're standing on each other's shoulders, and the hope say, this is the way, do it a bit this way. So always saying, pay attention to your bass lines, pay attention to your rhythm guitar, pay attention to your, how that drum, the kick sounds, your snares, like Dwight says, try not to use the first one, that you come across,
Yeah.
in your percussion, you know
Yeah. Yeah.
test all of them out. Anyway, Dwight should say this
Oh
bit because
shit.
he's the producer.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. What I will say is I have I have grown in my appreciation for other styles of reggae.
Mm,
I think that we all have different influences from around the world, from different cultures.
yeah,
But for me, for the type of reggae, that foundation, authentic sound, there
yeah,
are the first thing, I think the first area where people go wrong is they don't understand the music.
yeah,
They don't they don't
yeah.
understand what the music is supposed to feel like.
And that's, sorry, Dwight, that's not a critical
No,
observation either.
that's the
It's for
truth.
growth, isn't it? Yeah,
The
yeah.
so if you only approach, stand by 1 second. I don't want my battery to die just in case my wife
Mm.
needs me, and has me go on a honey-do errand.
Yeah,
I need to
of
get the
course, man.
call. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you approach, no, I'm speaking specifically for authentic reggae music. If
Mm,
you approach it from a sound perspective and not
mm-hmm.
a feeling perspective only, you're gonna find yourself getting tripped up.
Okay.
The There are elements of reggae. Let's just say the rhythm section, like with the piano, and then you have the organ shuffle type thing. That is a specific move, and I've seen people playing the piano like they're playing the organ shuffle, like kachanka,
Mm,
kachanka, with
mm,
the piano.
the bubble.
No, no.
Mm,
So what I'm saying is that you have to you you have to become, when you're creating it. This is what
mm-hmm.
I do, and part of it I do have an advantage because I was in a band, and I had a good bass player, and especially
Mm,
with me playing drums, my relationship between drum and bass, it grew.
mm,
So with reggae bass, if you're not got a real guitar and you have to program it using a keyboard,
mm-hmm.
you have to become that bass player in your mind. You have to picture yourself with a guitar so you can
Mm-hmm.
get the correct feel and the length of time you hold a note. You don't just hold a note like dun da 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 da. No, it's got different levels of volume and expression and note length in a bass line.
Mm,
It's not just playing a melody. All the notes don't have the same velocity. It's a feeling.
mm.
It's even if someone was playing a bass line and they had wrong notes in it, if they
Yeah,
played it with the right feel, you probably wouldn't even hear it
yeah, yeah,
because it feels
yeah.
good.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes,
Mm,
that's just with bass. When it comes with drums, people, I think younger producers who don't understand drumming, you may get tripped up because you don't understand what a drummer feels when he plays reggae, particularly with the hi-hat, the rim, and the bass drum.
mm-hmm.
There's a special relationship. You could sit down. I mean, we used to rehearse. We used to just remove the cymbals, the other cymbals, just
Mm-hmm.
snare, hi-hat, and kick drum. Just rehearse and just hold the whole thing together with that. We had other drummers from time to time that were really good,
Mm-hmm.
really good musicians come in, and their approach to reggae was just different. a lot of flashy drum rolling, and so sometimes we just remove the cymbals, take theirs away, take the toms away, play the hi
Mm,
hat, the snare, and the kick drum. That's it.
right.
So it's about learning what the instruments do, what they
Hmm.
what they represent, how they relate to each other.
Hmm.
There's a special relationship between a bass line and a kick drum. You don't just play. It's you have to lock in, and it's a
Hmm.
way to do that. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of producers that are creating this music, they have no experience being in a band. So it's
Mm.
kind of hard for us to expect them to do it. Well, the way to do it, like I said, is to practice creating something that was created by someone else, try and
Yeah.
replicate it exactly how you hear it. It will teach you how loud the bass drum needs to be. It will teach you the correct hi-hat pattern. It's not
Right.
just tut 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 tut. No, when a reggae drummer is playing, if it's like six distinct notes, it's not. You hear a lot of music that's just like no. If reggae is hard, soft,
Mm.
not
Mm.
it's hard, soft, and then the angle of your stick on the hi hat itself is not. It's one is this and one is this, so
Mm.
it's like it's different. It's not just
Yeah.
making noise. It
Mm.
is understanding what they're doing. So study, like just watch a reggae drummer play. Just
Mm.
watch him how he holds his hands when he's playing the hi hat. Watch the angle of the stick when it hits the actual hi hat.
Hmm.
Right? It makes distinctly different sounds based on the angle. Right?
Mm.
And the bass player, like listen for how long the notes are being held, or how hard they're being played. It's not just about banging notes. It's about
Mm.
how long you're sustaining them.
Mm.
How hard your fingers are touching the string. You have to replicate that on a keyboard if you're doing it, from here.
Mm.
So it's velocity. So you got to have a keyboard that allows you to play harder or softer, and then you have to become that bass player. When you're programming horns, this was always my difficulty, and the unfortunate thing is that in a lot of the digital audio workstations, the instrumentation that you need to create authentic reggae doesn't
Mm.
exist. There's
Yeah.
no real, it's hard to find a real organ or a
Mm.
real horn section. But when you do, again, it is the touch.
Mm.
It's how the note is played. The velocity is key. The dynamics. You have horn parts. They're not all at the same level. They're like
No.
then da 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 da. No, it's not just noise. It's careful
Mm.
articulation, and you got to study that in order to get better. So if you have no experience, there's still no excuse. Use my method. Find a
Mm.
Bob Marley track and
Mm.
recreate it, and keep at it until you get it, and you
Mm.
will learn. You'll learn along the way how to do it. You will definitely learn along the way how to do it. So
Yeah.
that's my little spiel on that.
Little tip. Yeah. No, that's good. And I mean, at least what we're trying to do as well now going forward for gospel reggae music is like you're doing, Dwight, again, reinforcing it, is empower others. So we're
Yeah.
not here to just say, this is how you do it, this is how it sounds. No, we're saying, do you want to learn? Okay. Is there any tips? I mean, is there a way that we can find out? Yes, we're willing to give tips so
Yes.
that you can understand, that you can know, because I think sometimes it's because of the lack of knowledge.
Yes.
So we want to kind of change the way how we, as especially in the gospel industry, how we portray what we do. We know we're going to do it in excellence, but in order for people to come aboard to understand it, we need to share what we know.
Yes.
That doesn't take
Definitely.
away that doesn't take away from what you know. Actually, God will bless you more, because what you're doing and also whenever you show someone else something, you get better at doing it. But you keeping it to yourself doesn't aid you or anybody else. So my advice would be, and I'm sure that's what Dwight is doing, God has given him that vision now to say, you know what you know, Dwight, go and show someone else it. That
Yes,
not only helps someone else, but that helps you to hone your craft.
definitely.
So definitely what we're saying is, you want to create gospel reggae music, you want to lay a track, you're not sure, at least, you know, I'm not a producer, but at the end of the day, you can inbox me and say, you know what, uh, if there's a certain question, or if I don't know it, I can find out, because
Yes,
that's what we want to be, a hub of. We want you to be able, if you're an artist, if you're a producer and you're just budding, we want you to know that you're not on your own.
yeah.
You're not, it's, this is not no foggy thing where, boy, there's these people up there, they're really good. And I'm down here by myself trying to do my thing. No, we're in it together, because we want the best for gospel reggae music. So we're saying, you know what? The more people that know what they're doing, the better it is for
Yes.
the gospel reggae industry itself. It means it rises better. So if you, Dwight, I'd probably want to ask you this question. So
Okay.
say, for example, you have an artist now who wants to make a gospel reggae track. They want to voice a gospel reggae track. They may have a studio they go to.
Hmm.
What would you suggest? Okay, we're saying that in terms of, okay, it might be they use a computerized, so everything's digital,
Right.
and they're not going to be focusing on the hi-hat, on the snare, and on the bass. Everything's going to be digital. What would you suggest that it can be something, just a small tip for them to enable them to get that authentic sound if it's digital? You know, because not everybody can get session guitarists to pay them.
Right. Um, the the short answer is that it's possible.
Mm,
The long answer is that it does take some work. It takes some research. First of
mm,
all, when you're working in a completely digital environment, which
mm,
most times I am, most of my music is what you hear is straight out of Logic. That's
mm,
all digital. What you hear.
mm,
I've learned to manipulate the digital sound into sounding authentic. That's just the way I play it. The difference between the digital sound from what I do is just the method. It's the way I play it.
mm,
The You can program a real hi hat that's in a digital environment to sound authentic. You have to learn how the in terms of the technique when you actually program it, the
mm,
EQ settings, to first of all finding a hi hat that sounds real to start with, and then
mm,
you want you can manipulate it a bit to make it sound authentic. You can add so many elements to make it feel authentic, not just sound, but to make it feel authentic. It
mm.
is the way in which you play it. I can take any instrument from any digital audio workstation. I don't care what it is. You give me
Mm,
a hi hat, snare, kick drum, and some percussions, a bass, anything. I can make it sound authentic just by the way I play it. The 99% of the sound is in the way you play it. The
okay.
benefit of having real instruments or real sounding instruments or real samples, that's a
Mm,
bonus.
yeah,
If
definitely.
you can't make it feel good, you can have every real instrument in the world. It's not going to feel good. It'll just be
Yeah.
music with real sounding instruments that's very sterile. So
Mm,
again, it all comes down to the approach you take when you're actually creating the music, and having the experience and having done the research into what these real instruments sound like in a
mm,
real environment, you have a template to kind of manipulate your sounds or to adjust them so they sound more like the other
mhm,
one. Now, when you have an opportunity to have a live musician, usually if you got a live guitar player, he can kind of glue the whole thing together just with
Yeah.
the, and or especially if you have a real bass player, you're good to
Mm.
go, right? But
Yeah.
I don't always have that
Yeah. That
luxury,
luxury. Yeah. Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
have to actually, create it. A lot of people, they ask me, where do you get your stuff? What's the band that does it? Who's the bass player? I'm like, no, man, that's me. Then I say, no way, that's not real. That's not no, that's a real bass. I'm like, yeah, it is a real bass. I played it. I really
Mm.
played it. It's real. So it's all in the types of plugins that you use for, your final sound. It's not just making noise. It's an art. But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
way to
Yeah.
get better, I'm telling you, I can't say it enough. The way to
Mm.
get better is to
Mm.
create other music, like
Yeah.
replicate it.
Mm.
It will make your brain develop fast. You'll figure out
Wow.
ways how do I get my bass to sound real. And in most digital audio workstations, there are tools to, without having to buy anything. You can
Mm.
just implement a few things. For instance, in Logic,
Mm-hmm.
you can use any stock bass instrument, but there are guitar amps, bass guitar
Yep.
amps, and if you apply the right one, it sounds just as real as a real bass,
That's good.
right?
It's
So
a
a
good
lot of
tip
people
there.
don't know where that is in
Mm.
Logic. Um, there are guitar plugins like for like strumming. You
Mm-hmm.
can how can I say it? You can make adjustments within the program to have a real sounding reggae rhythm section, like that chank,
Mm. Yeah.
and
That
it's
chop.
all in the
Yeah.
touch, right? It's all
Mm-hmm.
about the touch. So it's completely possible. If you need help, I
Mm.
can help you. I s-
There you go.
Listen. That is my passion. The authentic sound. That is what I live for,
Mm.
and I see where a lot of producers they've only scratched. They haven't even scratched the surface. They're
Mm.
like they're just still at the door. But I'm telling you, if you open that door, you have the best. There's so much waiting for you if you only just go forward. Practice, start to develop yourself. I'm telling you, you can do it. I did it. If I
Mm.
can do it, anybody can. I can't. I was self-taught, but I
Yeah.
worked at it. I worked at it. It also helped that I was in a band, a very strict band. We had a very strict regimen in
Regime.
terms of
Mm.
rehearsal, and
Mm.
it had to feel good. It wasn't. If it didn't feel right, you stop. No, do it
Mm.
again. It needs to feel right. You're sitting on and playing one song for 3 hours, just drum and bass to lock in, just straight, just so that you can't even get it wrong. You feel everything. You know
Drum and
exactly
bass.
where it's going. You can feel where it's going, and after
Mm.
a while, you can't get it wrong. It's in you, but you have
Yeah.
to practice, practice, practice to get that in you. For me now, it's easy to just jump on a track and start creating it. I already
Mm.
hear it. I hear the whole thing. Like if I get an
For you.
idea, I may get an idea for a melody. Within
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes, I've heard the whole song. So when I
Yeah.
approach it, I'm creating something that exists because I've already heard it, right?
Yeah.
So it takes a while to get to that level for that particular type of music. For authentic reggae, it takes a while to
Yeah.
kind of get to where you can just, dive
Yeah.
in and get
To
it.
go.
But you
Yeah.
cannot get there without training. I'm telling you, it's the
Yeah.
most important thing is training. You
Yeah.
have to
You need
train.
you need to practice. I mean, and
Yes.
there's quite a few good quality studios out there amongst yourself. LEAP Studios. We have
Yes.
Three Chronicles, Hammond and Harmony Productions,
Yep.
Small Acts. I think they're out in America. You've got the Catalyst. You've got
Yeah,
good
man.
productions, but they've been there for a while. They've been foundation, so they have built, they
Yeah.
have practiced, they've done that. So now I suppose what yourselves are doing, the Small Axes, the LEAP Studios, the Three Chronicles, Hammond and Harmony, all of those these studios out there, we're asking you to just help. I don't know how, but may God give you the way to share little
Yes.
tips if you can. Shed little tips on your platforms. As I see some the you guys production, you guys
Hmm.
are doing your thing now. You're slowly but surely sharing little tips, and I think that's what's needed. So those who are new into the industry, who love reggae music and want to use it to spread the gospel, they'll be able to get an idea. So if they're not, because I know some studios, they're very, we only do with
Right.
live instruments. That's fine, because that's authentic, real
Hmm.
authentic reggae music. Was you have your live band in the studio, so we know that. But we know, obviously, we're in the digital age, and as Dwight says, and as the other studios will tell you, they're able to still create authentic gospel reggae music.
Yes.
So it is possible. So what we're really saying to you is, like, Dwight's just said, please just practice, you know what you do, practice, replicate those
Hmm.
songs, those reggae songs you like, or gospel reggae songs you like. Get the groove going, get that rhythm going. Remember to really concentrate on your bass. You really need a nice round tough
Yes.
bass line. Really, don't hold back. Jesus got you. Please, because God is upset. If you tone down on that bass line, I'm telling you, God will be after you. Trust me, he
Yeah.
told me himself. Don't hold out. Don't hold out on the baseline. It's all good.
No.
It's all good.
No.
No, I'm only kidding.
No.
But yeah, but please, it's a part of what God has given us. So don't be shy of it. And if you're not sure, reach out. If you get a knock back from someone, just as what Jesus said to disciples, just straight scrape off your feet and move on. Keep asking until you find someone who's willing to
Yeah,
to
man.
to to help you. But the worst thing is not being able, feeling that there is no one, and there is. We're not here to say we're doing it the best way and that's it. No, we're saying, okay, we've kind of honed something. Dwight saying he's got an understanding of it, and he's here willing to help, so
Yes.
that our industry can grow. And as we get better and better, then we start to, we're already reaching the masses. We
Yes.
might not see it, not because we see two or three people on social media that we think we're not reaching. We are reaching.
Yeah.
God will use one person to reach millions. So we don't need to watch really what maybe the one and two people are saying. You just do what God has called you to do,
Yeah.
and focus on it, and do it well to the glory of God. Not everybody will appreciate it, but you know what you're called to do.
Yes.
So do it well and enjoy it. That's the other thing. You got
Yeah.
to enjoy it, you
You
know.
have to. Sometimes you can hear when the the music is not being enjoyed. It's it's
Mm,
it's a certain um it's a certain level you can get to in terms of when you're creating. It is the joy of actually creating music. Like when you
mm,
get it, it's no other feeling. It's
yeah,
difficult to describe when you create something that was once in your head and it's now
yeah, it's
on the
out.
radio or it's in
Mm,
your speakers. So there's a certain joy, and
mm,
like I said, it's unlike anything else in terms of like creativity. Um, but like you said, man, if you're gonna do it to the best of your
mm,
ability. Don't just settle. Like too
yeah,
many times, people just settle when you can just push that little bit further, and you
mm,
never know what you expose yourself to just beyond that little wall. Sometimes we even set up walls for ourselves. I've had to fight through, you know, just walls of sometimes it's walls of discouragement or stress, whatever, and it can sometimes try to stifle your creativity. But
yeah. Mm,
you gotta push. We have
keep
to
going.
push past that because that
Yeah.
creative process. Sometimes that little bump is part of the development. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
mm,
Sometimes it could be part of the actual development process into whatever it is that you're doing. So
mm.
no man, don't give up. Like,
Don't
no,
give up.
giving up is
Yep.
no, give
Yep.
up, no, grow up. No, don't give up.
Yeah.
Grow up. Make it, come on, man, let's make it better. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
find,
don't.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, sorry. Go, Dwight. Go on. Go on.
No, I
Go
was saying
ahead.
that I find that I've, I've, I've been in situations where I can, if I'm doing a project and I'm
Mm,
saying, okay, I'm only gonna do it to this certain level because it's only a demo. Me personally, I've struggled to not go all the way. Man, when I get started and the creative process starts to happen, it's
mm,
like it's impossible to stop at just for a sample. Or I
mm,
may give it to the client that wants it but trust me, when they leave, I'm back in it because I can't
wow.
stop because it's
Mm,
if you stop, I don't want to get my body and my spirit and just my whole being into a rhythm of
mm,
stopping the creative process. I want to
okay.
be able to follow it through until where it to the end.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't say this as out of any sort of disrespect. I appreciate people who want to go all the way. Like if you're
Mm,
gonna do a project, I want to work with those who want to do it well, not just to
mm,
do it, but to do it well. Because as a producer of or anyone, if you're working in collaboration with someone and you want to go all the way and the other person only wants to go this far and you're tied
mm,
together, they're going to hold you back.
mm, mm,
If you're
mm.
locked in together on a project and you say, that's enough, and one person was, no, man, we could do this, we could really go far. The other person says, no, I'm satisfied here. No, you're going to get stifled. So,
Mm.
I love to, I love to work with lots of people, but it's a different vibe when you're working with somebody who wants to go all the way. They
Yeah.
want to see that thing and they're expecting it to be the best that it
The
can be.
best. Wait. Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing that's driving them is quality.
Mm,
Some
mm,
things people, we usually have three different elements that are driving any project that we're doing. It's either time, cost, or quality. And
mm.
whichever one of those you make your priority, that's what you're going to end up with. If it's time,
Wow.
you're going to end up racing it. If it's
Mm.
cost, you're going to end up finding the cheapest way to do it and you may
Cheapest
not
way
get
to
the
do it.
best quality. If it's
Mm.
quality, you're going to do it to the best of your ability, even if it takes a little more time or a little more money. But if it's quality you're after, it takes time and money.
Mm.
So you have to ask yourself, with this project that I'm doing, what is driving me? Is it cost? Is it time? Or is it quality? And I always go for quality.
Always go for quality.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That rounds it up really.
Yeah, man.
Quality, quality, quality. And don't worry if because sometimes you're aching in the studio to get a project out. You've probably built the track and or excuse me, the producers built the track for you, and then it comes to voicing, you've done your bit, but then there's some holdbacks or whatever, or it doesn't sound right. Don't worry, as Dwight says, choose quality
Hmm.
over the time, over the cost. Even if it means, you see other tracks being released and you want yours, sometimes, it's just best to just stay still. This is what
Yeah.
I've been learning of recent. Just
Yeah.
be patient,
Mm.
because anything rushed is never God,
Yeah.
and anything rush is never God. So that's what we got to know. Just do things with quality, take your time, and don't worry, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And just to round up this session, Dwight,
yes.
because I've been given this lovely venue by Star Radio, so
Yes.
I
Yeah, man. Big those
Yeah,
guys up,
so
man. Tell them where you
I
are.
know. Star Radio, they've been a blessing to allow their venue, for this event, for this broadcast. So we want a big shout out to them. They're political, they do gospel music and political stuff. So check them out on Facebook. So to round up, Dwight, what do you want to say?
Well, first of all, I wanna again thank you for coming onto our platform and just kind of talking. But I do have one question
Mm,
before we leave. I am certain that I was listening to Shekinah
mm-hmm,
and I heard a track
mm-hmm,
by Van Spence being played, a
mm,
reggae track. And when
mm,
that thing
mm.
came off, I was looking for the fire. I said, "Pep, pep, pep." I said, "Who's that there?" I said, "That's Van Spence." So, what's going on with your music? Is there, this? Because I don't know much about what's happening. Just let the people know what's going on in that area, if there
Well, we're
is.
very brief. Very brief. It is. I suppose God has given me to work on the platform at the moment, which is
Mm,
Reggae Gospel 360.
yeah.
So I do love rhythm. I love nothing more than being in the bathroom, soliding set, putting on my headset, and running that rhythm from YouTube. And as God leads me, that's how the creative process worked for me. That's all I can say.
Yes, yes.
So it's still very much a in the closet until such time because these 3G need confidence and all that. I'm on working on the confidence section. So right now it's a bathroom, headphones, nice acoustic, nice bass line, rhythms, YouTube. Any of you guys artists who just learning, want to sing on rhythms, go YouTube,
Yeah.
voice, learn the craft there. That's what I'm doing.
All right. Good. Well, I'm glad.
Eh,
I'm glad that you're doing your your this in this season, the
mm,
platform that you're on, Reggae Gospel 360, and
mhm,
I believe that you're a woman of excellence. I've seen your work ethic, and it's commendable, and it's a blessing to see,
mm.
someone
Amen.
actually pursuing the purpose, pursuing like on a mission and putting
Mm.
their all into it, and that they're actually implementing it with a standard of excellence. And I know that's the
Wow.
case with what you're doing. Yeah.
Wow.
So thank you.
Thank you. God bless
Thank
you.
you.
God
Thank
is
you.
a
Thank you.
man. I can't even take the props from it because God knows what he's doing. Because when I first started, I have no clue. I still don't. I basically go by faith every single day. So all I can say, God, he's got the talent. He's the man of excellence. So all he does is download it to me and I just say, yes, boss. I will do that. That's all.
Yeah,
Can't
man.
take no props for it. To say,
Yes.
God is the one who gives because I don't I don't have no experience in what I'm doing. But God just
Wow.
told me to do it because you just love reggae music.
Wow.
You love God. So just that's all I'm going on. The basis of the passion of what I love, the foundation of
Wow.
it. I love God and I love reggae music. Those are the two things for me. And God has told me to just do it and he tells me day by day what to do next. So whenever you see something, it's not something I've trained. It's because God just says go do it, and I say yes, boss, going.
Yes. Yeah. He qualified you. Yeah.
He qualified me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's encouraging. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
encouraging. Yeah. So,
yeah.
like I said, we weren't gonna be here all night, but
Oh no,
we had
It's-
we had some interesting technical challenges in the
we
beginning,
did. Yeah,
and we fought
yeah.
through, and it came out
Oh,
nice. Yeah, and it
glory.
was worth it. Was worth it.
Yeah,
We were both
bless you, Dwight.
patient until we got all
Yeah.
the logistics worked out, and
Mm,
I think that the broadcast came out really good. And
yeah.
again, thank you for joining us on
Yes, people.
live from the
Thank you.
booth. Right? Let me
Bless
just
you. Bless.
explain a little bit more about what live from the booth is going to be. We're going to be featuring people, whether it be artists, musicians, whoever, on this platform, and it's going to be broadcast live from the studio. right?
Mm.
Um, this is we're just redeveloping something that we were doing a few years ago, and it's all about growth. So I thank you again, Van
Thank
Spence, for
bless you, Dwight.
joining us, and we pray that God continues to surprise you with these
Amen.
you know what I'm saying, with these instructions. The
I
main thing
know.
is that you're willing and you're always ready. That's
Amen.
why he
I am.
chooses you. Yeah, that's good.
Amen. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
All
And
right.
to say as well, bless you, thank you, Dwight, for your time, for actually initiating this broadcast. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's been a pleasure to be on live in the booth. What a pleasure, LEAP Studios.
Yeah, man. All right. So people, we're gonna leave it right there.
Mm,
Again, this is Van Spence, right? There she
bless
is.
you all.
All right, so we're gonna leave you with that, and we will see you next time. Let me just close out the broadcast.